Okay, so welcome everybody. We're doing a little bonus workshop action here using Levidio templates, PowerPoint templates for video. And a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight is not as specific to Levidio as one might think. There is a plethora of these kinds of templates that have come out in the last year and a half, and there's going to be a bunch more. One of the things that we'll be kind of touching on is how to actually use some of these. There are some gimmies and gotchas, and I'm going to have some tips and tricks and stuff like that. Almost like a survival guide, if you will, depending upon your level of expertise with PowerPoint and things like that, and or video content creation in general. I'm just going to try to keep you on the path here and give you some stuff to kind of look out for. This isn't going to be a how to use PowerPoint kind of a deal necessarily, other than to say that I will dive into some specific features of PowerPoint and ways to use it to be able to take advantage of some of these templates and stuff. Okay, so we can also make this kind of interactive. If you have a question, go ahead and pop it in the question box there, and we'll definitely get to those. Stuart asks, am I using PowerPoint 2010 or 2013? I am using 2013. And the latest version of PowerPoint, as of this video, of course, is 2016. From a feature set standpoint, there's really not much difference between them. To make videos, I'll just say this in general, to make videos with PowerPoint, your best bet is to have at least version 2010 or higher. 2013 has some more and interesting things like transitions and stuff like that, so there are some minor considerations. It's in general best, if you are making videos with PowerPoint, to use the latest greatest tool. That's just kind of a gimme. It's one of the gimmies. gimme, yeah, get yourself some PowerPoint action. But in general, I'm still using 2013. Okay, good. So questions are good. We had a couple of pre-submitted ones, and I'll kind of get to those. This is going to be just kind of a light and loose kind of workshop here. If you've downloaded the templates, and like I say, or used templates from any of the other folks, you know that there's, first of all, a stunning number of them, and a like number of ways that one might be able to implement such things. It's not going to be Levidio tutorials necessarily on each and every one of the templates that are in Levidio. That would just be mind-numbing, and I don't think it would do anybody any good. So we're going to kind of hang out for about an hour. Hopefully at the end of a couple of workshops here, we will have kind of a library of different topics and things that, again, I'll rearrange and edit into some kind of finalized deal. So hopefully that'll be good. As I go along, be sure and ask questions, because that's going to help the content overall at the end of the day, that I know what to kind of drill down into. So the folks that are here, how many of you have cracked these open? The templates open and actually tried to do some work in them? And be thinking of, oh gosh, I tried to do this and that didn't work very well, or I have a question about this or that. That's going to be some of the best stuff that we can address and capture. And if I can't get to it like in the course of the evening, if it's too complex or something, literally at least I'll have like a hit list of stuff to do, right? So there you go. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this kind of stuff here. So using Levidio templates, PowerPoint video templates in general, some tips, tricks, gimmies, and gotchas. So let me start off with one of the things that is really one of the problems I see with a lot of these templates. A lot of them are supposedly going to let you instantly create professional videos, and I know all the folks on this call have heard me say this a bunch of times before. It's probably not going to happen. Professional being the key word there. In fact, I talked about this just recently. So as you look at all of these templates and stuff, and we'll go through a few, and I'll point out some of the things that I'm kind of alluding to, but video in general, videos that are effective in general, have precious little to do with, or are very difficult in most cases to fit into some kind of template. And the reason for that is because a video, for it to be viewable, consumable, and valuable to whatever purpose you are trying to achieve in the creation of that video, depends a lot more on the message than it does whatever specific slides and things like that are in a template. Okay, so what we'll see is we kind of flip through some of the templates as they exist as is. I think what you're going to find is that they don't necessarily have a strong message. They don't necessarily address real value or are as watchable, other than the fact that they have some nice animations and stuff. To be aware of that. So as we go through and kind of pick and choose some of the things, or maybe the slides that we're going to use in various templates, I'd like you to be thinking about not trying to fit your message into a template. Okay? What I recommend is you craft a message that accomplishes whatever goal you want the video to provide. Or if it's for a client, for example, you want to know what your client wants to achieve and make it specific to their business and things like that. You look through some of these like explainer video templates for a plumber or a dentist, and they just don't necessarily fit whatever business a particular dentist, as an example, might want to convey or might have as benefits or advantages or competitive edge and things like that. Those are the things that are going to make a compelling video for clients in that particular case. You aren't going to be able to just open up the dentist template, in my humble opinion, and make a video that is truly worthwhile. Now, that being said, you can certainly take some elements and things like that, but I guess the punchline here and the bottom line is, don't necessarily try. In fact, keep in the front of your mind that you are not going to want to force a message into a particular set of slides. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? And if you've opened these templates, I think that hopefully you will, kind of see some of that type of a thing. Okay, so let's see. Stuart says he's been looking through them, looking more at presenter media. Sure, that's another resource that we use a lot. Couldn't add in a sound file in PowerPoint. Better to add sound in Camtasia, he says. I'm going to touch on that because that is a great point. And again, it's one of those things that these templates do is they have all this stuff packed into them, and a lot of times we just got to discombobulate a bunch of it, right? So there we go. Just be aware that for almost everything, and this doesn't even apply just to PowerPoint templates, it's a lot of the video tools that are out there, Explaindio, VideoMaker FX, and even templates like from Presenter Media. Focus on the message and you're going to make better videos. Okay, here's the next part of it that I kind of want to talk about from a higher level. So most of these videos, as Stuart just wisely alluded to, have like a music file in them, an audio file, a background music track. And what you'll find in all of the samples and things that were created is that the preponderance of videos that they seem to think we want to make are cutesy little music videos. In other words, no narration or anything like that. The thing is that little music videos have a place and have a purpose. A slideshow set to music can be very good content, okay? Because it's just kind of a visual thing that washes over you. It's not trying to deliver necessarily a specific message. See point number 1. So for the most part, professionals will create videos that have an audio narration component that talks about the message. We do that for a couple of reasons. One is that as opposed to just a music video, it's more engaging, to have the spoken word involved there. And then two, another big point to that is, especially if you are working on something like a sales video or anything that's trying to create a connection with a viewer, narration is one of the ways we do that. Okay? To hear somebody's voice starts to foster that relationship, that getting to know, like, and trust factor in a lot of cases. Okay, so you won't find any instruction or any plan or even necessarily ways in the templates to do this audio narration. So that's the bad news. The good news is that I actually cover this in some fairly excruciating detail in a series of videos I put together that I call the Ultimate Guide to PowerPoint Video Recording. Because I'm sick of all these silly music animator explainer videos that aren't as effective as they could or should be. I boiled it down to 3 different ways to get audio narration into slides. And I call them the good, the better, and the best methods. And when I say that, I mean a matter of mistakes. So the good news there is that I don't have to talk about how to do that tonight, because I'm actually just going to give you guys a link to go and view those series of tutorials. Okay, so let me bring up my links file real quick. So this is a playlist, and I'm going to put this in the chat box. And I guess what I kind of suggest you do throughout the evening here is, as I put in a link, click on it and open it up in a browser tab and mute it if it's playing. Just mute it right away, but that way you're going to have a bunch of tabs open. And with the replay, I'll post all the links and stuff like that, of course, but this will kind of get you going. So like I say, this is going to open up a playlist. I would ask that you don't share this right away with anybody. This is actually a product that I'm going to be putting out, but what you can see here will be the good method, the better method, and the best method that I've been able to come up with over the course of like 5 or 6 years of creating videos with PowerPoint. And in fact, the sample I use in these tutorials is also in the playlist here. So you can watch it and you can go, well, I don't know, that's maybe not a bad video, but it certainly is timed nicely. The narration and the animations pretty much there, pretty much solid. And the reason I put all of this kind of thing together is that one of the things you'll struggle with, and I can almost promise and guarantee we're going to go through and look at some of the aspects of this, is in a lot of these templates, what you're going to run into is problems with timing. Something's going to happen too fast. Something's going to happen too slow. And when you throw audio narration into the mix there, things get ugly in a hurry. Okay, so this is probably your first shot at really pulling together some video content with narration when appropriate that I think you're gonna kind of like. Let's see what else we can get into trouble with here tonight. So let's talk a little bit about the templates And what we all got in this particular case, if you go look at the tutorials, I went through them all. As you'll notice, there is no audio narration, which isn't the worst thing in the world. In fact, most of the tutorials have some very good points in them as to how to modify the templates. And that's really kind of what we're going to be talking about, how to use content in the templates, modify some stuff, and make it useful, make it fit our message, things like that. Okay, so if you haven't gone through the tutorials, that is definitely a place to start. What you'll find though is, like for all of these various modules, there are some tutorials that show how to modify things. A lot of them are redundant. How to change text and things like that. But they're almost must watch in the sense that there are some things in there that are just really useful, especially if you didn't know how to do them. And I'm going to give some of the gotchas and stuff there too. So let's go ahead and jump over and kind of look at some of the templates, and I'll give you a couple of quick tips here. So here, depending upon the level of stuff that you bought, you will have a bunch of templates. The good news is that when you extract the zip files that you downloaded, puts them all into folders. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit, just touch on organization here, because I'm going to back this up a little bit, one level higher. If you bought, several different levels, so this is the front end, the main offer, then there of course is the one-time offer, and there's some bonuses and stuff like that that you got from me that you can download and all that good stuff. Well, here's kind of the thing. As we start to pick through templates that we want to use, let's open this up here. So the front end, you'll notice that, okay, explainer templates, banner templates, openers, e-covers, right? Things like that. Well, if we go into the one-time offer, see here I have an upgrade, but essentially it's the same thing. Explainers, banners, logos, e-covers. So what I'm thinking of doing in organizing this is kind of putting all of these, copying all of these into one place, right? Because picking and choosing what we want to use is kind of the whole name of the game here. Well, I've got like things scattered all kinds of over here. So just from a pure organizational standpoint, I think what I'm going to do is have just one directory, one set of directories, and put all of the explainer templates like in this directory, right? Another thing that's kind of handy is, let's open one of these up here, is how you view your folder. If I'm looking to choose what kind of template I might want to use, well, having a little image here is kind of nice. Number 3 infographic and number 4 infographic doesn't really do me a lot of good. There is a little image preview here, but I'd even start to look at things like this. If you are in like details view, that gets kind of tough. I mean, you can click on it and get a little tiny thing down here, but as I'm kind of browsing for what templates I want to do, I'll usually kick these up to some kind of icon size. Okay. Is there any other thing organizational wise right off the bat I can think of? Like I say, I think I'm just going to kind of keep things all grouped together for the most part. Let's talk a little bit about some PowerPoint stuff here. So as we start opening up some of these templates, like I say, there will be slides that I'll probably want to use and slides that I don't want to use. The very first thing I'm going to do whenever I open up any template is to save as immediately. And by that I mean I'm going to open up a template. It's actually going to ask if you want to enable editing. So once you do that, you're pretty much good to go. But you need to think of these as your master copy. So the very first thing I do when I open up a template is I do a file, save as, and give that thing a different name. Put it in a project directory or something like that to kind of keep it organized. But let's just give it a different name, right? Because what's going to happen is we're going to need to monkey around in a pretty meaningful way with a whole bunch of stuff. And trust me when I tell you that things aren't always going to go well, just by nature of the complexity of some of these templates. I mean, complexity is cool when you're doing animations, but when you're trying to modify things, it can get kind of interesting. And a lot of times the only way to take a stab at it is to take a stab at her, right? And you will biff it periodically. And I'll give you a couple of other tips and tricks as we kind of go through here. But here's an example of that message thing I was talking about. We kind of want to focus on things other than, or at least be aware that this preponderance of, hello, meet Peter. Peter has a problem. And in this particular one, we even have two people with problems. Here's Sandra. She's got a problem too. Well, you have a limited amount of time to capture someone's attention when it comes to them deciding whether or not they are going to watch your video. Okay, so I'm not a fan of, hi, this is Peter, because nobody cares about Peter. We want to try to see if there's something a little more compelling that we can put in there. But that being said, as I open these up, I save it as something else, and for the most part what I'm kind of doing is going to the animation tab and then previewing the animations. Right? Preview that slide to kind of see what happens. So here's one of your first big tips. Some of the stuff that is on a complex slide, if you open up your PowerPoint presentation and you see the view that I have right now, pretty much, right? The slide is pretty much taking up all of this little window area here. I'll call it the canvas area. You need to know how to zoom in and out here. So the way I do that is hold the control key and use your mouse wheel and zoom in and out. And what you'll see right off the bat is, oh wow, there's a whole bunch of other action going on here. And one of the first things that I do is I find this little speaker icon and I shut that thing off. Okay, I don't personally like to put my audio into the PowerPoint deck, because what I'm going to actually end up doing is exporting this as a video and pulling it into an actual video editor. I use Camtasia. You can use whatever you want, but if you think about it, trying to get an audio file to play correctly over a proper whatever number of slides and things like that is almost making PowerPoint do something that it's not very good at. Okay, one of the biggest tips on all of this stuff is that PowerPoint is great for animations. It's great for creating some slide content and doing some graphic stuff like that. It is not a video editor. It sucks at video editing. So if you're making videos, PowerPoint's a great tool. These templates are great starting points and things we can use to create videos. But I never necessarily try to do everything inside of PowerPoint. And that includes using these audio files. Okay, now that again is just my personal preference, but in order to find these and manipulate them and switch that audio off in this particular case, you got to know how to zoom. You got to be able to zoom in and out. It's just one of those things. If you didn't know how to do that, you probably would struggle with trying to modify some of this stuff. Okay, let's see what else would be next. So I typically will go ahead and preview. Okay, that's not too bad. And I just kind of look for stuff that I kind of like in most cases. Now this one, for example, I love that. But here's a problem that you're going to see with these templates. In fact, I'll kick this into slideshow mode. So here it comes. It builds this awesome desk thing. I love that. Peter, and then it goes away, right? So the biggest issue in really trying to dial these in has to do with some of the timing stuff. So let's open up the animation pane here for a second. And I'll just click on this top part here. And I don't know, it looks like it starts here. Trans 3. So if I play from there, see? This stuff right here, it comes in automatically. And the biggest problem with these templates is they try to do all the timing automatically in these videos. And that's just really kind of a big issue. If you struggle with this stuff, if it just wanted the desktop to stay longer, modifying that is just kind of a nightmare. So if I drop down the properties here, you'll notice that this animation, which begins all of this transition stuff, starts after previous. In other words, as soon as this last text box comes in that says Peter is a product creator, it automatically jumps to this and begins it. Okay? So what I like to do in most cases like that is I want to control that action. And I will usually put that to start on click. And sometimes all of these other transitions and stuff will shift with it. But let me go into slideshow mode now, and especially if I'm adding narration. So now I'm recording. Are you sitting at your desk and are you busy? Well, Peter is a product creator and he can help you. Okay? Then I click and the transition happens. Right? So that's just one of the things. Let me find a different example. So here, I know these are exit animations because they're orange. And let's see what that does. In fact, I'm just going to delete this on top stuff here for a second. So let's watch that animation. Sandra comes in and then she flies out. Well, what you're going to find is that she's going to fly out automatically. Okay, so if I change this to start on click so that when I want it to happen, oh, there's Sandra. Sandra, Sandra, go away now, Sandra. To try to manually put in all this timing and stuff, that's where a lot of people are really going to struggle. So for the most part, I take that complexity out of the mix. You see, because even if I wanted to, let's undo that for a second. Maybe there's a better example. I don't know, let's preview this one. Okay, at least that one doesn't go away. What happens here? We got all kinds of stuff happening, and then it goes away. It really makes it tough. Even if I wanted to, I don't necessarily know what this delay should be, or how long that animation should last. It depends, right? Depends on what the message is. And to try to dial all this stuff in manually is really just kind of it's a pain. That's why I never do it. Well, let me just back that up. I don't just try to do the timings here and then export this as a video, right? Export video. That's the way all the tutorials tell you how to do this. Here's how I use this. I will set all my stuff to on click and things like that where it makes sense. You know, I don't mind that this very beginning builds itself. That's awesome. I don't want to muck with that. But I do want to have it stop there. Okay, so let's do that. Start on click. Okay. Let's take a look. And transition. Right. That's what I want to have happen. So the way I create my videos is I record them. Go into slideshow and record the slideshow. What that's going to do is PowerPoint is going to let me click through the slides, and I can narrate if I want. That's method number one in the ultimate PowerPoint recording method, is to just click through and record my narration. It's going to bake it right into the slides, and then I can export as video. Okay, but if things just happen automatically, then that's just not going to be feasible. Or I'm going to have to try to tweak that timing and rush my voice or something. It's just too complicated. Just take some of this timing animation out of there and record your silly slideshow, right? So that's kind of my basic take on what a lot of the issues that people have. Trying to time it in PowerPoint with these animation timings and stuff, it's just seriously way too much work. And exercise in frustration. PowerPoint has this neat little thing built right in that lets you record. So record. So that's my basic rant on that. All right. Let's see. What else should we hit here? Editing text is easy, so I'm not really going to get into that much. Images are also kind of interesting, only in the sense that there are essentially three ways that you might need to use to change an image. So let's just go find one, and we'll kind of see. Here's an image. Okay, so let's right click on it, and a lot of times if you click on something, and I'm going to go to format, now I kind of know that this is a picture. Okay, if I move it, I see it's an image. So let's undo that. The way you modify these per the tutorials is pretty much correct. I can right click on this and I can change picture. And let's just find a sample one. Sample pics. See what happens. Okay. And now you may or may not be able to size things necessarily. What you'll find is that a lot of times, I might be able to scooch it up though. This is what I mean by just kind of playing around with stuff. Depending upon whether an image is wider than it is high, some images work great, some will need to be resized. So let's see what that looks like. Animations. Yeah, that actually didn't work too bad, except for the fact that, let's undo it. See, this image right here is very tall. If your image isn't very tall, then it's not going, you'll notice that it, I won't redo it, but it just left the bottom part of it gray. Now in this particular image, it might actually work. Change picture. Okay, that one looks a little better. But that's basically one way that you can change that you might have to change pictures. One of the other things is to use what's called Smart Art. And Smart Art is really kind of nice. So I'm guessing this may be a piece of Smart Art. So let me click on it and try something. So in some cases, you can just delete an image, or the Smart Art, and then pick a new one. And that's really kind of one of my favorite ways. Let's close my animation pane. Now I'm not totally sure that was Smart Art, so let me show you your next major tool here, and it's called the selection pane. So if you go to the selection pane, What this does is it shows everything that's on the slide. And when you start getting into complex animations and complex slides, see all this stuff? All of this stuff is on this one slide. Let's preview the animation. And it's awesome. Okay? Here's the problem. If you want to get at, like, I don't know, that tree right there, you're almost not going to be able to do it in a lot of cases. If something is on top of something else, it's very possible that you literally can't get there from here. Okay? The reason the selection pane is handy at that point is I can turn stuff off with the little eye tool here. Okay? And once it's turned off, it still exists, but it's not in my way. Okay, now we're kind of getting there. What else can I turn off? Or turn on to see what that is. Okay, so now I can kind of move stuff by grabbing all of the various components of it, or I can turn things on and off to be able to get stuff that's underneath something else. Let's see if I can get to that bench. Just as an example. You'll notice that a lot of them are grouped together. So a lot of times it's easiest to collapse all these things. So now you'll see it's a little more manageable. Let's turn this group off. Oops. Okay, so that's the group I want. I think what I'm going to do is start to turn almost everything else off. Okay, let's see. So there's, oops. And now, this is assuming, of course, the bench is actually some kind of portion to it. Yeah, see, this bench is made up of all kinds of little pieces. So literally, if I wanted to, get at each of those, see, here's where it starts to get a little tedious. You'd almost have to walk through and turn all kinds of stuff off. Let's see, what might I do to work around that a little bit? Let's try this. So I turned a bunch of stuff off there. How about if we just kind of make a selection? See, it won't let me do that. That's kind of weird. Let's see what that is. In a case like this, what I might almost do, let's make a new slide and make it, well, I guess I can't make it blank. And let's just copy this one group. See, now it might start to get a little more manageable. Let's get rid of this thing. Sometimes being able to use different stuff and work with complex things means kind of hacking it down. I kind of like this. Right? I might be able to use this little piece in any number of different scenarios. And let's just see. There may or may not be, much in the way of animation there, but it certainly has all the stuff and things like that. A lot of times, like I say, I'll just have to pick apart things that I like, things I don't like, things I want to copy and maybe use somewhere else. I kind of like this box, maybe, and it's got an image in it. Let's see if this is, no, it's not smart art. The selection pane can also be used to tell what stuff is on a slide. So for example, if I want to change this image, is it smart art or is it just a picture? Well, if you open up the selection pane, you can see, okay, that's a picture. Okay. I wonder if he has, no, that's a picture. This particular deck might not have any smart art, but I'll kind of show you. Actually, you know what? I have another tutorial on how to use the smart art. So I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of graft that part in for using smart art. So if it's a picture placeholder, again, you can just click on it, delete it, and then pick another picture, but it's got to be at least kind of the same aspect ratio. In other words, you know, width and height. See, that works really nice. A lot of stuff works pretty nicely, but man, some stuff just doesn't quite cut it. Let's see. So I go through a lot of these and just preview the animations, and I find stuff that I like. And then what I do is I kind of create a swipe file. So here, I kind of suggest you do this also, is to just create, you know, a blank deck and start pulling, copying and pasting and collecting things that you like. Here was one of the animations from one of the explainer videos. I love this thing. Okay, all these little elements come in. So let's see if we can find another one. Maybe, let's preview this again. Okay, I like that. It's kind of a, for maybe a local business, a brick and mortar business, but ooh, they're online, right? They're on the computer. Okay, I like that. And I might just grab all of this stuff, or in this case, I might even, let's just copy the slide. Okay, and then go over to my swipe file and paste it in. And I usually keep source formatting when I paste stuff like that. Right? So let's just say now I'm looking to create a video, and yeah, here's some things that I know are pretty good that I can use in a lot of cases without hunting through all kinds of these templates. So one of my recommendations would be to first go through, find the stuff you like that you really think you can use, and sometimes that means simplifying things. You know, maybe you got to delete a guy or gal or something like that, or use the selection pane and turn stuff on and off, that kind of thing. Use your zoom wheel to make sure you know, get everything. Let's watch this one. Yeah, I kind of like that too. Pick stuff you like and pop it into a swipe file. Now, one thing that I'm kind of looking to do, I haven't done this yet, but I think this might be a good idea. So this says best effects swipes. Well, there are different kinds of effects, right? Some are topography and text effects. So here, for example, this is one of my favorites. You know, it's big, bouncy, elastic text. Here's another little thing. It's kind of a, you know, I can put numbers in here, that kind of thing. But they're basically all topography and text. Well, in a swipe file, I think what I'm going to do is, if you didn't know you can do this, I'm going to right-click somewhere here, and I'm going to say Add a Section. And what I'm going to do is right-click on it again and rename this. So this would be Typography and Text. Something like that. Okay, then down here, a little bit later, I have some icons. So I would add another section called Icons. And rename that. Icons. and go down and just kind of keep doing that process. Here are image animations. But what that kind of buys me is, instead of scrolling through all kinds of slides, because this is going to get kind of big in a hurry, you can collapse these. Right? And now, at the end of the day, I'll be able to open up my swipe file and, okay, I need some text. I need a text effect. Right? And the way I might use this effect, which is just one that I copied from a template in a new slide deck. Let me just show you that real quick. In fact, I'll use my slide right here. This text field doesn't have any animation to it. I open up the old swipe file and I click on an object that has animation that I like. Let's click the animation painter and go over to here and click. Right? So sometimes it's just the animation that I really care about. It's not necessarily all kinds of elements and stuff like that. So that would be one thing. That's kind of handy. One might be kind of tempted to just copy this text box. Well, yeah, maybe, but then, I got to change the font and all that good stuff. If you just want to copy an effect, the animation, then use the animation painter, and like you saw, yeah, that works pretty well. Let's preview that. Oops. So that basically paints that animation right onto it. Okay. Stuart asks, do you save individual slides as files? That's a good question, Stuart. Let's take a look at that, because I actually kind of ran into that in some of the templates here. So let's go to like the infographics. Each one of these slide decks is really just a slide. Now let's open one up. I think it's just like a slide. Yeah, I added this one, but for the most part, a lot of these have just one slide. Well, I'm thinking maybe what I want to do is just create a slide deck called infographic, and then let's just do it real quick. See how we feel about it. So here's another one. I guess they do have two slides. So I'm just going to highlight both of these, copy. Let's go to, this could be my master infographic deck. Right click and paste, keeping source formatting. So I was thinking about that earlier. Yeah, I might do that, but here's the problem that I see with that is this whole preview thing. How do I know what's in this? After I get 5 or 6 of these in here, how do I know what's in here? Well, if each one is on an individual slide, I get the preview before I open up the deck. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between that. I might rename these or something, but I do like having the preview here, because now I can see what's inside there. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking of it. I don't mind having lots of individual decks necessarily. I would just keep them all in one directory, and being able to view them like this is kind of nice. Slide samples are a little bit different than animation swipes, right? Animation and elements and stuff like that. Okay, so these are just cherry-picked things that I like that, oh yeah, I want to copy that and use it in another presentation or something. But being able to see what individual slides are, I think the only way to really do that is to have individual files. That's a good question. let's see, do you record in slideshow mode and click for transitions while it's recording? Asked Stuart. Yes, absolutely. When you go into slideshow mode, and normally, again with these, well, let's pick a template. Take a look. So normally with these templates, if you go into slideshow mode, again, these guys, a lot of times, let me zoom in here, a lot of times are going to have that timing built in. So when you go into slideshow mode, I would definitely uncheck this box for one thing. Or stuff's going to start happening automatically, and that'll screw you up. Well, I don't know. Let's see what happens. So that's going to start from the beginning. And, you know, once I kind of have it, have some of those delays and stuff taken out, all of this is going to happen at my control, you know. But that's just one thing I wanted to point out, is that when I go record slideshows, I usually uncheck this. Or a lot of times I will even clear timings. Now, what they mean by timings here is timings that you have recorded, not necessarily timings, if we go to animations, that are baked in. It's kind of confusing. Timings in slideshow mean what have I recorded previously, and timings in animations are what are built, are specified here in the animations. Okay. One other way you might change images has to do with what's called a fill. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to format background. And right now I just have a solid red color, but you can also use pictures as fill. This happens to be a pattern that comes with PowerPoint, but if you go to File here, you can actually make a background, the background a picture. So you might see that in some cases. So we talked a little bit about creating the video files, what these templates are going to want you to do, and what the tutorials will say to do is to go to File, Export, and create a video. Again, this is just not the way that I like to do this, because you are definitely going to have to go through all of that hassle and all of this mind-numbing stuff. I invite you to try it. Go in and try to time all of the stuff in your video, and try to do it even without narration. Just, you know, change the stuff that's in there. Let's go to the animation pane for a second, and certainly you can see that things are a little complex right off the bat. How do I know if 1.10 seconds is enough? Well, you don't. You're going to have to change something and try it. And you will do this like in perpetuity. It's just ridiculous, in my humble opinion. Again, so yeah, I don't do that. There's much easier ways to make videos. Record the thing, and life will be so much easier. And as you will see in this little tutorial series here, timing won't even matter. You can dial it all in just perfectly, and it's just going to work, and it's just going to be good. It's one of those workflow things. If you're going to make videos, make videos. So Liz was here. Liz wanted to learn a bit about creating video resumes using Levidio. And I'm going to make a special video for Liz. Since Scott isn't here, I'm also going to touch base with him on the Facebook page. On the Facebook page, the PowerPoint video page, let's go ahead and put that in there. We have some discussions and stuff going on, and I think it's down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to folks that have questions. So we'll kind of dive into some of these more. Certainly, in a kind of overview workshop, we don't really have time to destroy everybody's question the way it deserves. So, like I say, the questions that we come up with here are really just going to give us food for further investigation and stuff like that. If you create a video, I'd love to see it. So go to the page here and make a post. Show us what you're doing, or show us what you're having problems with and stuff. And the next workshop that we're going to kind of do will take place after the holidays, after the 1st, when things get slowed down a little bit and whatnot. Let me see if there was any other burning thing that I wanted to touch on real quick. I think that's pretty much some of the major things. We talked about the zooming in and out selection pane. The tutorials talk about how to change animations, so I'm not going to cover that. We did sections and commiserated on the woes of the delay. I will make one final kind of comment here. If you're going to be making videos with PowerPoint professionally, dual monitors rock, and I'll show you why. Let's go over to one of our templates, and I want to modify this. And it's a complex. Let's zoom out here. Let's find a more complex one if I can. There. So this one's got, that doesn't have enough stuff. Where was that really nasty one we looked at before? Here we go. So when you start getting a lot of stuff here, right, we want to have the animation pane open. But now I also want to have the selection pane open. To open the selection pane, I usually go to Home and then under Select here, Selection pane. Well, what you'll start seeing is that stuff gets a little squishy here in a hurry. Well, if you didn't know this, you can actually grab these, tear them off, and I can pull it. See, I'm pulling it off onto my other monitor. Okay, so now I have all of the selection pane stuff, and I can move all the animation stuff onto a separate monitor, big and clear, so I can get at everything, and it's going to be just like, I have plenty of canvas room also. So dual monitors kind of rock. Okay, any other questions? Like I say, this was kind of a loose presentation for me. I really just kind of wanted to see what you guys were struggling with, if there was anything specific, give a few tips and tricks. And right, just as a little recap, I actually talked about some things on one of my webinars this week, like I mentioned, and I just uploaded this, so I'll put that in the chat box. Kind of touches on some of the same types of things we did tonight. So rather than have to wait necessarily for the replay here, you can go check this out. It's about 18 minutes worth of me ranting again, but we also went into some detail and stuff, and this one has been kind of edited. So there you go. And this one will kind of join in the group here of modifying PowerPoint video templates. Cool. Because this is something that just is crushing so many folks. And like I say, if you think working with the templates is hard, trying to come up with content, for how to modify all this stuff is just mind-numbing. Do you record with a lavalier mic or some other mic? Yes, Stuart. It depends, Stuart. If I'm recording with a camera, sometimes I'll use a lavalier. Right now I'm using a headset mic because I'm on a webinar and I need my hands and I need to kind of keep the mic with my mouth as I turn my head and stuff. So I use a headset mic to record webinar content. When I'm recording client videos or sales videos, I always use a studio mic. I actually have a Rode Podcaster mic on a scissor boom, on a rock and roll scissor boom, just like you'd see at a radio station. That would be the mic I use for that kind of purpose. So it depends. All right. Okay, I think we're going to let everybody go. I don't want to keep everybody too late. And like I say, we'll be diving into more of this stuff over time. If you have questions and stuff, post them on the page here. That'll just help, you know. And that's the beauty of that. If you give me a specific question, for example, down here, I am going to show Scott exactly how to use his logo. I actually even got a copy of his logo from him. So we can do that. Liz, we're going to have a wonderful discussion on how to create video resumes, because we have some samples and stuff to look at. Okay? And, you know, that's just, if you want to learn something, yeah, it's good to get the basics, but especially with something as potentially complex as some of these templates, man, sometimes me just rambling on is going to be more confusing than anything else. So, kind of take some of the basics, and these have all been good questions tonight, right? And they're so easily and quickly answered. So hopefully that's what kind of gets you on your way. Let me see. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. So Stuart's looking through them. Went to the presentation process. I get they aren't as video oriented, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Some of the templates and stuff are not really about videos necessarily. Where am I? Some of them are graphics kinds of things. And your best bet there is to just kind of look at them and see, you know, what you might be able to do with them. I like to use PowerPoint for graphics. I love it. I do it all the time. And in the little tutorial I just posted there, yeah, I kind of talk about the kinds of things I use and do with that. So, there we go. Are there other places to click to preview? My PowerPoint doesn't seem to show the blue star you just clicked on. Stuart, you need to be on the Animations tab for that to be there. So notice here, if I go to Design or anywhere else, yeah, I don't get that. So click the Animations tab, and barring any customization that I've done to this ribbon, and I don't think I really have for this, that should be there by default, at least in 2013 or higher. If you're in 2010, I'm not sure. Don't recall. The other ways to preview would be to, again, go to the Animations tab, the Animation pane, and, you know, there's a preview here too. Yeah, Stuart says he's in 2010, could upgrade to 2013. Heard bad stuff about 2016. I wouldn't worry about that, Stuart. I wouldn't upgrade to 2013. I'd go to 2016. That coming from the guy who hasn't done it yet. I don't know how bad it could be. They've been making PowerPoint for 23 years now. So, you know, they kind of got it down. Alright, I'm going to let everybody go, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.